This is Lindsay Williams, and you're listening to the Drunkard United show. Bless your little cotton socks.
Newcastle's cotton socks got blessed the fuck off this week.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, everything was looking good for them. And
you say we blew their socks off?
And then, yes, I did. That's what I'm saying.
Nice.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you happy about that, Mel?
Oh, yeah, because Villa fucks.
Let's start the show.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston.
Sam Houston?
Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smells of a lord. Looks great in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.
Fucking United! Fucking United!
Hello and welcome to the DU Football Show, a completely biased recap of the English Premier League as told by two common American schmucks. I am your host, Sam Houston, and across the way from me, all the women in his house dropping like flies.
Yeah, for real.
My co-host, Mr. Samuel Graham. How we doing over there, buddy?
Doing okay other than all of that shite.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, on the ones and twos, we got the lovely, maybe still high, producer Mel.
Definitely still high, producer Mel. What a great fucking weekend, dude.
Yeah, it was it was lovely weather, and you got to do your favorite activity, which is get high and mow the lawn.
Oh, our lawn looks great.
Sure, whatever you need to tell yourself.
Okay, so that's only because I cut around the daisies.
Do you have daisies out there?
Yeah, or weeds, as
They're
other people
growing.
might call them.
They're weeds that have like little flowers on them, and she waits till they all bloom, and then she pulls them, and then she mows that part of them. Yeah, we're recording at the DU Public House just outside the nation's capital. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, and of course, streaming live every single Monday night, except for on Facebook Live apparently tonight. Should you want to chat with us, there is many ways that you can. Mr. Graham, tell the good people how they can get in touch.
Absolutely. As always, it is at DU Football Show on all the social medias and dufootballshow@gmail.com to get in touch via email.
Lovely. I'm starting to get sassy with vendors that email us. Person emails us about let us help you do subscriptions for your podcast and have a shop, and I'm like, I never answered it, and then like, hey, it's been a week, we haven't heard from you, we'd love to help you. I'm like, if you listen to our show, you'd already know we have a Patreon and we have a Drip Shack, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
No need your help.
Yeah.
Like, don't just cold.
They're getting as bad. It's this weird micro industry that's getting as bad as the people that buy and sell homes that call you every goddamn day looking to sell the property.
Be
It's
like,
I don't fucking own that property. You can't.
yeah, they're like not selling it. No,
Yeah,
not selling
Lose
it.
my number, please.
Yeah, leave me the hell alone. Are you better now? You got your vape, got that little bit of that
Feeling
sweet
good.
nicotine. You're going to be all
Feeling
right.
good. Yeah, got my crack pipe.
Sam and myself both work in the wine and spirit industry and both have a deep, passionate love for all things distilled spirits. So as the red-blooded Americans we are, we vow to have a drink in our hand throughout this show and every single show. Mr. Graham, all we got are two more to go.
That's it.
Another whiskey without the E.
It
Another
is.
Isla.
This is Bruichladdich, 18-year-old. Comes in at 100 proof. Should run you about $180. They rated it a 94. It's a single malt scotch from Isla.
I got it right at SRP too.
Oh,
This
nice.
one. Good, because this was the list had just came out, and I think it was like less than a day fresh. It was that morning it came out. I found it before anybody had a chance to
Snatch it or raise the prices up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Your blurb from Whisky Advocate comes to you from Mr. Johnny McCormick, and this is what he had to say about this whiskey. The flagship of is it Bruichladdich or Bruichladdich?
Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich.
Okay. Bruichladdich luxury redefined range is packaged in a molded fiber cocoon. Distilled in 2004, this whiskey includes the distiller's first use of Isla-grown barley. It was matured on Islay, mostly in bourbon barrels, but also in a combination of Sauterne and port casks. Aromas of honey, vanilla, and creamed coconut are wrapped around floral finishes with peach, melon, guava, and ground ginger. Complex layers of gooseberry, melon, and banana mingle with butterscotch, barley sugar, honeycomb, vanilla, and cinnamon, running into a satisfying finish of ginger and oak spice with a hint of coastal saltiness. One other thing to note about Bruichladdich is the only Islay, I believe, that is not peated.
Bunnahabhain does only one now.
One
only
SKU
one that is
of their
unpeated.
line. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, their blue label is an unpeated whiskey, and then they do the Octomore, which is the obscenely peated whiskey. I
get honey and coconut big on the nose, are the two things that stand out to me of the list of things that he said.
You definitely get the salty, the sea salty kind of thing there on the back end. It is really fucking lovely.
See, I get more on the flavor than I do. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of a Talisker a bit.
And it's interesting because Bruichladdich also has traditionally not been an age statement kind of company.
Right.
Now, we've talked about this before.
But again, they're doing something different also with Islay grown barley.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. Remember, they have their individual farm selections that they've done before
that's true,
that have been on the list, and the Port Charlotte is also them. But it's also, this is the first time that it is the traditional blue bottle of Bruichladdich aged 18 years with local barley, so. But
this kind of cocoon thing it's got going is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, it feels like you can probably detach it.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
I don't want to either.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if it'll go back together.
Right, precisely. But what did they say that was on the, it was like some kind of microfiber thingy that they
cocoon, they called it.
It's exceptional. I want to actually drink a little bit of it now on ice because I put some on ice there as well.
Bad shout.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, man.
As it got that vanilla and honey sweetness up front.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives way to all the traditional barley chewiness. And I do get that there's kind of warming oak spices on the back end as well. Like, it's delicious. And it's a good little whiskey, this.
Bruichladdich, something for Bruichladdich almost always makes the list every year, be it a Port Charlotte or one of their, like, single estate type ones, but this is...
It's an exceptional whiskey.
God damn, it's fantastic.
Would I go pay $180?
No.
I've told you before kind of my limit on whiskey.
Right.
Probably not, but if somebody offered me this, I'd bite their hand off.
Oh, yeah.
And take it.
Yeah.
You know, or I'd buy a glass of it at a restaurant.
Yeah. It's stellar. Well,
it's very, very fucking good.
What else should we always do, Mr.
Always
Grant?
remember to drink responsibly, ladies and gents.
Cheers, kids. Let's have a great show.
Let's do a show in the 10 o'clock hour.
Yeah, because it's 10 o'clock, not 11. We definitely did not get started late. That did not happen. No,
Fake
sirree,
news.
Bob. We open with the battle for the Champions League as two of the hottest clubs faced off, and a crazy finish in the West London Derby proves to be a timely win. Newcastle 5, Palace 0, Aston Villa 4, Newcastle 1, Chelsea 2, Fulham 1. Very simple for Palace. It was a complete dismantling, right? There's really not much more to say about it. Newcastle utterly and completely fucking dominated them, right? Just beat the hell out of them.
They also made some weird decisions, being still 10 days away from the FA Cup semifinal.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it's so strange why you would do this.
Yes, agree.
Make these choices.
But then...
Well, I guess they're this weekend, aren't they? Coming up.
Yeah, they're this weekend.
Yeah, so this was last midweek. Yeah, so 10 days away. Just a bunch of strange... I think they subbed Mateta off at halftime, or, you know, it's like, what are you doing?
Now, with that being said, we're already done. We're moving on from that because what we want to talk about is fucking Villa
the
and
other
Newcastle.
Side. The other thing I will say that we're not talking about it is because that took place on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We all know what happened on Wednesday at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
So no other football in the world took place that day to me. When you called me today in our pre-show meeting, I told you and confessed that I didn't even remember that game happened.
That's
So I
true.
never watched the highlights of it.
Yeah.
No clue.
This was a great advert of two non-Big Six clubs. This game had everything. This game had everything in the first half, let alone the entire game. This had stuff in the first 20 fucking minutes.
I mean, inside 40 seconds, Ollie Watkins scored. Like, I mean, it was Villa made their intent very clear from the off. You know, and especially with, you know, last weekend we talked about it. That was their first Champions League game. Win coming off of a Champions League week, rather.
Yep.
This season, they've gotten a couple of draws here or there, but you know, ultimately, after a midweek game, they kind of suss the weekend. Well, they saw what Newcastle did midweek, and I told you they're getting to the business end. I think you're going to see a different Villa coming out these last few weeks of the season.
Completely agree.
Because they got a taste of that biscuit, that Champions League biscuit, and did we ever?
Emery, before the match, said, we're pissed. We should be in the semifinals of the Champions League. They came out and played like they had a chip on their fucking shoulder.
And Ollie Watkins reminded him that, hey, you didn't fucking start me against PSG. Remember that? And a goal and 2 assists in this one.
Fabian Schär had an interesting 20 minutes because Watkins' goal got deflected off of him. He then got a yellow card, could have gotten a second yellow card and been sent off, and then scored the goal.
And it was
all in 20 minutes.
The only question of if it was going to be a goal was whether or not he could actually get to the cross.
Right.
But with as much as he put behind that ball, as long as it wasn't directly at Emmy's chest, there's no way he's saving that.
Yeah, it was going in the back of the net.
It was going to the back of the net, and ultimately it kind of skimmed off the inside of his thigh and nutmegged him. It was a little bit of a strange header, but he got a lot behind that ball, and it ends up trickling over the line.
And it was a gorgeous cross, too. And
Yes, and it was also after a decent spell of Villa pressure, because after that, you know, you scored 30 seconds in. A lot of teams will just go, you know, it's kind of chill. We got this lead now. Let's weather these 5 minutes and keep moving. Villa kept pushing.
Oh hell no! And Newcastle was pushing too. It was back and forth. It was
a basketball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a basketball game that first half.
Yeah. Our good friend and listener, Short Billy, who's probably watching right now, he was like, how do you cram 90 minutes into 45?
And Tyndall, after the game, is Eddie Howe, get well soon, is still dealing with his pneumonia issues or whatever it was that put him in a hospital. Jason Tyndall said this game was one half too long for us. That they've just had, you know, and they've been on a good run of form. They've been putting a lot of effort to climb the table these last few weeks. They just, because that second half, they just look like they ran out of energy. They just, you know, I mean, you're talking, what was it, 2 minutes in or something?
Yeah.
2 or 3 minutes into the second half, Villa took the lead again.
And then quickly after that, kind of just ran
About
away with
12 minutes after that, scored the third goal. And then it was just like, this is done as a contest.
Frankly, they could have put 7 up. And here's the thing is
They did. Newcastle, I think it might have been Schär again. Might have been Livramento, though, actually. Somebody cleared a ball like on the goal line. They were standing on the goal line and cleared it. Nick Pope was beaten.
Oh, more than once I yelled, "Damn it, Pope!"
Yeah,
That was...
And I think it was John McGinn had a great chance, and Nick Pope just kind of did this weird like thunderclap away.
He was, speaking of McGinn, he was a little bit cheekier than usual.
Oh yeah, him on free kicks. He was. It was very funny how the commentators phrased it, because he was going down right by the goal next to Pope and just having a friendly conversation with him while the wall was getting set and while everything. And then when they would line up to kick, they line up to kick it, he just ran to the sideline out of the way, so he wasn't involved in the play. And the commentators are like, yeah, they're going to say he's not involved in the play, but what he is doing is being directly involved in the play.
Yeah, he could have just stepped off the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, right behind the goal there. But yeah,
that's exactly what he was, and he was.
It was
cheeky.
adorable.
Really, what it came down to is, like you said, Newcastle had run out of gas. Right, they had been running this lineup for quite a while.
Mel yells
they
at
only
Pope.
have
Pope dies.
yeah, exactly.
Shit, I never even thought about that. I killed the Pope, y'all.
Yep. And
that was JD Vance.
And apparently,
Actually.
well, the funny one your wife sent
With him dressed as the Grim Reaper.
was JD Vance.
Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Fuck, Marry, Kill, and it's a couch. It's a couch. It's his wife, and it's the Pope for Fuck, Marry, Kill.
But I mean, them running out of gas was just evidenced by Matsson's goal, right?
Right.
With that second goal that Villa scored.
That was
the
bloody
amount of ground,
perfect.
but the amount of ground he made up from when Ollie Watkins receives that ball to when Ollie Watkins plays him in on the overlap. You're talking 55 yards that he made up in what felt like about 12 steps. And just left the entire Newcastle midfield and defense for dead, and was clean in, and just that beautiful left foot found the inside far netting, and that was that.
And then Onana rips a fucking hole in the back of the net.
Oh, what a goal that was! Holy moly!
Here it's
And then you have the Dan Burn own goal, of course, which I think honestly, if Tielemans makes contact with that, it's a goal kick because he seemed to already be past the post,
right.
But he just kind of dummied it. Like it. Watching the replay back a couple of times of that goal in particular, I didn't see Yuri Tielemans like go for the ball.
Right.
He just dummied it and forced Dan Burn into a decision, which is a brilliant piece of play. And Dan Burn comes off the inside of his foot and fucking just beats Nick Pope because nobody's expecting it. And it was inside the 6.
Oh, well, and here's where I was talking about Newcastle kind of ran out of gas, but this is where the subs and the coaching from Emery has to be applauded. Like
we are so deep.
He's keeping the players fresh. He's rotating regularly. Everyone's stepping in and doing their job when it's their turn to be up.
But when you saw Watkins, how disappointed he was to not start the game against PSG.
Right.
And Rashford was preferred, who has scored obviously far less often. It's a balancing act to keep everyone happy. And in a summer when there's multiple suitors, now United apparently are looking at a swap deal for Rashford and Watkins. Now, Watkins is a boyhood Arsenal supporter, and obviously United are in a bad way. I don't think he would agree to that.
No.
But the fact that he's on other people's radar and he's not getting started Villa's biggest game of the season,
Right.
seems like an odd choice. That he's the Premier League striker when they're trying to push through and do these things in the Champions League. So I think he was a bit perturbed and kind of said, something along those lines. Like, he said he was beating Emery's door down.
Yeah.
Why aren't I starting? Why aren't I in there? Blah, 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 blah. So he comes out and proves it. Like, this is what the fuck you're missing out on.
Right.
Does this deserve to come off the bench in the 60th minute? I don't fucking think so.
Right.
This kind of thing.
This is, I'm your starting striker. You
Right.
need to
So
start me.
he made his statement, and we'll see what happens in the summer. But there's going to be no shortage of suitors, even though he's 29. There's going to be no shortage of suitors for him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely the case. Now, for Villa, you got to say they're right back in the hunt for real now. Like, because they were still... This was one of those 6-point swings, right? This is one of the big ones. And now you're looking at this group, and we're going to get on to Chelsea here in a moment. You're pretty much separated by 2-3 points between these 5 clubs. It is tight. It is really, really tight.
It is very tight. I mean, we saw today, I'm going to pull the table up real quick. We saw today with Nottingham Forest result, they jumped from 6th back up to 3rd.
Right,
So
precisely.
your point totals are this when we talk about how tight this really is. Forest are on 60 with a plus 14. Newcastle are on 59 with a plus 18. City are in 5th on 58 with a plus 22. Chelsea are on 57 with a plus 18. Villa, now here's the problem. They're on 57 as well, but they're only on a plus 6.
Right.
So if there's an unfortunate draw, and then say you match or you win and someone else loses, Villa's going to still be on the outside looking in based on that goal difference.
Right.
So they're going to need people to drop points. This was a huge fucking game for that.
Oh, yeah.
And you're talking, this is after the game, they're on a plus 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And they won, 4-1. So they were only plus 3 prior to this game starting. So they've got a long way to go. They need some results to go their way to make sure the goal difference doesn't come into play.
Right.
Is the big deal. I mean, but that's how fucking tight it is. And then obviously there's a massive drop off to Bournemouth, 8 points behind them.
Right.
So it looks like it's going to be, not looks like, it is really.
There is some Europe in their future.
Going to be Forest, Newcastle, City, Chelsea, and Villa are the ones that are vying for that spot, and they're only separated by 3 points.
Right. And do you end up seeing 2 teams go to Europa, right, instead of one? Because if, let's say, Villa wins the FA Cup but finishes in 7th place, they're not going to the McRib. They're going to go to Europa.
Correct,
and
which then opens up a
place becomes
the McRib area.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, moving
which could also still happen if Arsenal wins the Champions League anyway, I think.
Right. Moving on to the West London derby. Exactly like what happened earlier in the season at Stamford Bridge happened at the Cottage, and it was just reverse order. This time, instead of Fulham getting 2 goals at the death, it was Chelsea who got 2 goals at the death. And not for nothing, Fulham played pretty much a perfect 80 minutes. The problem is there's still another 10 plus minutes left, and that's where it all fell apart for them.
Well, I think the biggest issue in this game is we say some teams are clamoring to get to halftime. Some teams are disappointed to see halftime come in. Mm-hmm. I think Fulham is the latter of those 2 statements. Yeah. I think halftime gave Chelsea a chance to regroup, Maresca a chance to motivate, and just say, hey, listen, we're not going to change the game plan. The game plan is sound. You just need to go execute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Chelsea did. Now, it took them a while to get there, but ultimately they finally did. And the Pedro Neto goal,
both goals. I mean, the first one from the kid who came in for Jackson.
Yeah, that was very reactionary. Ball just kind of squirts to him. It's a good finish. Don't get me wrong. But Neto's turn, turn, just the swivel and the way
and
how hard he hit that ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bird Leno didn't get off the ground before that ball had already rippled the net.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was that fierce of a strike. But Fulham made their intent clear from the start. They had the ball in the net within the first 2 minutes in the most obvious offside goal ever. And thank God no one got hurt. It was that offside referee should have raised his flag.
Right.
I mean, that's absurd. The linesman. It's absurd that he didn't, but they showed, like, we're playing to the whistle. We're coming for you.
Right.
And
precisely.
they did. And, Iwobi's strike was nothing to be sniffed at.
Mm-hmm.
The one that he scored with. But like I said, Fulham kept kind of pushing. Chelsea were a bit disjointed in that first half. And I think halftime really changed that tie, where Fulham lost all of their momentum and Chelsea were able to regroup, reposition, and they just kept pressing. And you saw Fulham shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink, and sink deeper and deeper and deeper into their own box. And eventually the dam broke. Yeah. And that was the end of it, because Bird Leno had a great game, had a fair few saves he needed to make.
So do we then think that this is the wake-up call that Chelsea needs, and now they think they're in it, or was this just a blip?
I mean, they're in it.
Right.
They're in it. We've been saying for a while, the way of Chelsea is the way of Cole Palmer. Mm-hmm. It's just going to depend upon how he's doing. This was a blip in terms of it wasn't him that provided the impetus.
Right.
And they're going to need him to do that, because I think they did get a touch fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the ball squirting to young Tyreek George, his first in the Premier League, first for the club, senior goal, I believe, altogether. That was a bit fortunate. I mean, honestly, in fairness, this game probably should have been 3-3, but based on the evidence, would have been 1-1.
Right.
Without that, kind of unfortunate piece of luck for Fulham. But if Cole Palmer doesn't turn it back on, and it's kind of, his last 2 months or so has been summed up by that shank. It wasn't even fucking close to anything resembling the goal,
right?
From inside the box.
Yeah,
that kind of summed up Chelsea's 80 minutes.
Yeah, I'm too. I'm still not sold on him. I'm just not. I'm more convinced by Newcastle and Villa and Forest and even City than I am Chelsea.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
The title is now 1 win away, and relegation takes a second club. And the third is on its final leg. Liverpool 1, Leicester 0, Arsenal 4, Ipswich 0. Liverpool find a way. They really weren't great. They weren't great at all. And Leicester played them tough, but they figured out a way to get the win, and that's what they got to do. And little going away present from Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Well, yeah, but so I only wrote 2 sentences for this game because it was a dog shit game. I said this was the foregone conclusion game. Ipswich, Leicester know they're going down. Well, Ipswich do too. We'll come on to that, but
that's about to happen.
Yeah, Leicester really knew they were down. Also, in this game, unwanted statistic: they're the first Premier League club, first club in the Premier League era at minimum to go 9 straight at home without scoring a goal.
Yep. Again,
absolutely
another game without a goal at home.
Absolutely pitiful. Liverpool weren't much better.
No,
to be honest,
they weren't.
It was disjointed again. It just, like I said, this has the foregone conclusion game. Like,
I do think Liverpool was a little fortunate. I'm not so sure that was a foul on Daka with Allison. That seemed like just 2 guys going for a free ball.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Yeah, it was a little iffy.
But here, have you ever DVR'd or videotaped a game, somehow got told the result in annoying fashion prior to you viewing your taping of the game,
right,
and then still watched it anyway because you're really looking forward to it?
Yes, I definitely have done that before.
You obviously don't watch it with the same enthusiasm. You're more apt to not pause it to go to the bathroom. You're more apt to go make a sandwich,
right,
and not pause the game. That's how I felt during this entire fucking thing. Is like, I know it's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to be 1-0. It's going to happen.
Right.
But nothing they're doing is working, and they don't really look like they're breaking a sweat. Leicester were trying their hardest and couldn't fucking muster much.
I mean they were.
They did some, but it's Allison back there. What are you going to do?
Right. Precisely.
And then Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back from a wee injury, obviously, all the talk is he's off to Real Madrid in the summer. I'm pretty sure it's a done deal, to be completely honest. But celebrates like this is his goodbye present.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Basically.
It certainly felt like his goodbye present.
He also is, in professional athlete terms, with his shirt on, looks quite puny. Took it off, though, for this one. He is absolutely fucking jacked, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, that's
surprised.
That's Mo, right? Because Mo kind of has the crazy, kind of
had the crazy hair. Now he's actually got it styled.
But then when you see it, like he takes off his shirt, and you're like, motherfucker got the V.
Oh,
He's got the 6 and the V cut,
big time. Yeah,
you're like, Jesus.
But the Trent's ripped too. And it's the way, like,
newsflash, almost all professional footballers are.
Well, no, I'm saying, but he's like rip. Like, we think of, like Adama Traore as being the gold standard of fucking,
right.
Looks like a linebacker. But I didn't expect him to have like proper man tits. You know what I mean? Proper pecs, but he did. He fucking did. I expected his core to be strong, of course. You have to have an engine like he's got, but I didn't expect him to be that cut up top. I was like, whoa, look at you, big guy. Wow, all right.
So
maybe I don't think I can bully you if I ever saw you in the street, which I did previously think.
Even before the red card, the Gunners were all over the Tractor Boys. It was a walk in the park for you guys, this match. I mean, you beat up on them.
It was always going to be difficult to get back in the game for them with the red, obviously, but we were already 2-0 up when it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this was more of, of a foregone conclusion than it was anything else. You got Martinelli and Trossard having getting goals, getting the lead up to that point. Martinelli in a rich vein of form. I think it's going to be very, very important in the Champions League coming up.
Yeah. Mourinho with that little back heel too. Oh, that was sexy.
What a flick that was. It put it right in his path. I mean, Martinelli didn't have to break stride. It was for a tap-in.
Yep.
It was fucking awesome. But it was a completely dominant display anyway. The red didn't help. I'm not sure. I think it's kind of orange card territory for me.
I don't disagree.
The announcers kept making reference to a raking motion he made. I didn't see that.
Yeah, the spikes were up. He definitely got him.
Oh yeah,
in
he
the
stood on his ankle. Yeah.
And he definitely had no intent for the ball. That was I'm going to destroy something beautiful.
If
That's
it was
exactly what it was.
But if it was a yellow, I don't think I'd have been mad at it.
I don't disagree
necessarily. They kept talking about this raking motion. I was like, I don't see him doing that in the replay at all.
Yep.
There was a few things that happened this weekend. With announcers, with actions in the game, that I was like, are we watching the same shit?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense. I had to start this game on Saturday in the car because I had to take Julia somewhere. I can't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. I had to take Julia somewhere real quick. So I went and dropped her off. So I started the game on XM. And they have a former Spurs and Manchester United defender, Paul Parker, was the co-coms, was the color guy.
Right.
And on the old TalkSport, which, gets broadcast on Sirius XM. And he said, I don't see Odegaard being... Oh, this was on Sunday, excuse me. It was when I was picking her up that I had to...
Listen to the game.
Listen to a bit of the game, I think it was. And he said that Odegaard, he doesn't see Odegaard as a creative player.
Right.
And I was like, what?
It's the one thing he fucking does. That's what
It's
he does.
the only thing he does.
He's the string puller. He's a creator.
But
That's what he does.
Like, even if he doesn't pick the most incisive passes ever, those little touches, the pirouette, and the little drops to the shoulder always create space for other people.
Right.
Every fucking time create space for Saka to run in.
Mm-hmm.
Created the goal for Wanyeri to actually to put a bow on it, for lack of a better term. I just don't understand what these people are
going on about.
Watching.
Yeah.
Trossard obviously got the first one, was off balance. Good little improvised finish between the legs of the defender, caught the goalkeeper out. He got another in the 69th minute, so he had two. Second one was a bit more traditional. And then Nwaneri finished everything off. The fucking of the ass by Arsenal of Ipswich Town with a goal off of one of the defenders' arses that deflected into the back of the net.
And now you have Ipswich, who has to win out, and West Ham have to lose out. It is the only way they are not going down.
Yeah. And West Ham might lose out, by the way.
Not out of the realm of possibility, but I also
we'll come on to them shortly.
But I also don't see Ipswich winning out.
No, that won't happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Like their next match is at Newcastle. They're losing. They're going down next week. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Rounding out the rest of the league, and so that happened. Manchester City 2, Everton 0, Brentford 4, Brighton 2, Palace 0, Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1, Southampton 1, Wolves 1, Manchester United 0, Forest 2, and Spurs 1. Toffees had chances in the first half. They had a nice chance in the second, early in the second. It is very simple to round up this entire match. They had City exactly where they wanted them until Tarkowski got hurt.
It's exactly right.
That is the match, because then you put in Michael Keane, and then suddenly Marmoush was able to really start running at Keane, and Keane's definitely slow. Tark
definitely
is
slower than Tark.
Yeah, Tark's slow. He's even slower. And you can also just kind of tell, like, that whole defense that's back there that's been such a great unit this season kind of all went, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering if the next match against Chelsea, do you go ahead and move O'Brien to the middle? And that's what I would do. I would not want to put Keane back out there.
What I was going to say about that too is you've got Tark, obviously, who's very experienced. Mm-hmm. You have Ashley Young, who sometimes plays a lot less in recent weeks, who's very experienced. Makes a bunch of boneheaded moves, but is very experienced. O'Brien's come in and done an excellent fucking job.
Yeah.
But he's quite young.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a ton of experience. Michael Keane is experienced enough. He's just not very good.
Yeah. He's just he was
There's a big drop off from Tark to him.
He was a decent center back about 4 years ago. And then he hasn't been since.
Right.
And then when he's fallen off, he fell off bad.
And then you've got Mikalenko on the other side, who's obviously also still young.
Right.
So without Tark, you lose all of your experience in the back line because he didn't sub Ashley Young in.
Right.
So you have these, and you have Branthwaite there as well, who I didn't mention, who's still
very young.
Very good, but very young.
Yeah.
So you lose the experience, you lose the captain, you lose the marshaller of the defense. Mm-hmm. And it's no surprise that a team like City are able to pick that apart.
Yeah.
At some capacity.
Right.
And
because up until that point, they couldn't pick it apart.
They couldn't figure it out. I mean, Jordan Pickford had to make 2 or 3 saves in the first 80 minutes of this game. Mm-hmm. And then Tark goes down, 65-70.
Yeah.
City start to pick up a bit more of the ball, a bit more of the impetus, and they start moving and start doing stuff. And, and then once they're in full flow like that, dumb shit like the second goal happens.
Yeah.
With a weird deflection, comes to Kovacic quick, and he somehow reacts and sticks it in the far corner, and nobody's any the wiser.
This is where you start to wonder with City. One last thought on Tarkovsky. It's likely a hamstring, and if it's a hamstring,
it's the season.
That's the season, which sucks.
But y'all already safe.
It sucks because since he's come to the team last year, he hasn't missed a minute. He's
played every minute of every game.
Every minute of every game. So, and yes, you beating Ipswich made us officially safe. Mm-hmm. When you beat them, we were.
Until we beat Ipswich, Tottenham and Manchester United were also not mathematically safe.
I loved it. That's brilliant.
And West Ham still isn't.
No, West Ham.
But guess whose manager is? Everton's manager is mathematically safe. Guess where he came from? West Ham.
Yeah.
Got all these new great ideas in. Graham Potter's going to fix it. Not all good at Hogwarts.
Why does it feel like, because they were going over City's schedule, and City's schedule gets real easy down the stretch.
Of course it does.
Like
the powers that be wanted them to waltz to another title.
It's like they're going to end up being third or fourth, and it's going to be like, fuck, man. Like, they don't deserve it. Like,
but this is where Villa, if Chelsea can get their shit together, Villa's building up this head of steam now.
Yeah.
We should be.
Villa's their final tough opponent. That's their final tough opponent.
That's what I'm saying. And they play them on Tuesday, I think it is, right?
Yep, Tuesday.
I didn't see much in the Everton game to convince me about City.
Yeah.
I think Villa, I put in my bet, we'll find out later in the show, but I've got one of my legs is Villa or draw.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one.
And it's at City.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
Because I've got Villa, like Emery said, we're pissed off about this game.
Yeah.
We should be in the semifinals of the Champions League.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with him.
Yeah.
But I told you a couple weeks ago, I could just see it. They had the game against Southampton immediately after that PSG game, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they kind of labored, but they got to their 3-0 win. Now, what you're seeing is they're building up this head of steam going into the final few games. It's like I told you before, they got the taste of that biscuit, and they want Champions League again. Mm-hmm. City still aren't playing well.
Right.
Everton, you gave them a ton of problems. And there's no fucking reason that you should, though, is what I'm saying.
We deserved a point in that match.
Of course.
When we lost Tark, that changed the entire game.
Of
but
course.
Up into that point, we deserved a point out of that match. We deserved a draw.
But that's what I'm saying. City still aren't convincing.
Yeah.
They're still not like, they've picked up a couple of results, but they've been against clubs that have had kind of middling seasons. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, when they collapsed in the fall, they haven't really been convincing since. And there's no Erling Haaland the rest of the season. So you've always got a chance, no matter who you are at this point. So I think Villa can do it against them. And I think they can do themselves a massive favor in terms of that top 4 or top 5 race, rather.
Time we do a shot on the Lord. Haven't had to do many of these in recent times.
Since David Moyes is back.
3 times I've had to do it.
I bet Smokey wishes he had Moyes back. Yeah. I'm going to just put it out there now.
The one thing I'm going to say before I throw back the shot, you shout out to the Goodison faithful. De Bruyne, upon being subbed, the entire stadium applauded for him.
Oh, nice.
And he even said afterwards in his post presser, he's like, never been applauded by the opposing fans. That meant a lot. He said it meant a lot.
You know what that means? Mm-hmm. He may join you in the summer.
I love that. I'll take him.
You know why?
Why?
The only other player that ever said that was when Cristiano Ronaldo scored that bicycle kick against Juventus in the Champions League for Madrid, and they stood up and applauded him. The following summer,
he went to
Juventus.
All right, here we go, my lord.
One more thing to make that taste worse. Every team, Arsenal included, have brought a gift to Everton. Usually was a jersey signed by the squad, at least the starting 11, but had the day, time, match, location, everything of the match embroidered on the chest of the shirt.
Right.
Every single team has brought one to Goodison Park for the final season there, except Liverpool.
Well, I wouldn't expect them to. I wouldn't expect them to.
I would expect them to respect their neighbor since that's the friendly derby.
Well, you know what they'll remember? Tarkovsky ripping a hole in the back of the fucking net.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Oh, and by the way, to all you assholes, we'll be enjoying our stadium next year in the Premier League, like we do every fucking year. Fuck yourselves. That felt good to say. And I was bullish on him from the start that we would be fine.
Yeah. It took a while.
Brentford and Brighton was an exciting fucking match, man.
Yeah, it's a weird one, though.
Bees were always in front. I mean, it was yes, there were goals from Brighton, and yes, they made it 1-1.
Well, one of them was when they were down to 10 men even.
Yeah. It was 1-1, and then, but then the Bees always seemed to kind of be in control of this match.
Oh, they were swarming, let's say.
Yeah, they were swarming.
And that second counterattack was as sweet as honey, Mel. Okay? And Buemo obviously scoring twice. And Wisa getting a goal from an Mbeumo pass.
Yep.
That is, I think I read, the 18th time this season both of them ended up on the score sheet. With either goals or a goal involvement, like an assist or what have you. That is seventh, I think they said, as a duo over the course of a season. And there's still 5 games left.
Wow.
Yeah. They're just an excellent pair.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Now, I think if Salah left, if he decided to go to Saudi, I think Mbeumo would be on Liverpool's radar.
Right.
Why he's not on more teams' radar, or they haven't tried to go get him, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see, because he is, despite his appearance, still quite young. Mbeumo, I think he's only 24 or something.
Yeah,
even though he's got a beard down to almost his nipples, and he's bald. He shaves his head, so he just appears as an older man to me.
Right.
I think he could end up at a place like Newcastle in part of their kind of rotation. I don't really see Jacob Murphy's form continuing like that. You also have the bonus of he is a bit of a passer. Now, I don't think moving him further away from goal, but if you change the lineup with Joe Linton and Tonali behind and play Mbeumo as a 10, I think Newcastle could be a nice landing spot for him. I just think he needs to be at a bigger club. I don't think he'll go in the summer again because I think Brentford are on the charge for a European spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
tend to agree.
I think he kind of feels the love there. He's the main man. So I don't think he'll go if they achieve a European position. I think he'll stay for that first European season and then fuck off, especially because he's still young. But there may be some money come in for him that Brentford can't turn down either. So I don't. It's going to be an interesting situation.
Another up and down performance from Brighton, and I'm going to talk about it in the next match because frankly there isn't a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about kind of all these teams together. So I'll get to Europe and that scary fucking scenes at the end of the match with that head-to-head collision.
Oh, you talking with Norgard? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good header for the score of the goal. But yeah, nah, he didn't look in a good way.
Well, I'm talking about the two that it was Norgard in the middle of the field where they headbutted each other.
Oh, why was he on the ground after the goal then? Maybe I missed that bit.
This was into extra time, right? There was like 6 minutes of extra time and it ended up being like 11 or 13 or something like that because 50-50 ball, two players going for it, and it was head to head, and Brighton's player was kind of woozy down, but moving. The Brentford player was stretchered off, went limp. Like it was bad.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Yeah.
I think this was one of the games I watched today.
Understood.
So with everything I talked about in Soundcheck, which you can find at patreon.com/football show. Thank you. Everything I found on so I like after the score finished, what the score was, after that last goal was scored, fucked off to the next set of highlights.
Yeah.
But I saw Norgard after scoring that fourth goal was kind of laid out in the penalty area. Now I know one of his players was kind of on top of him, but they stayed down.
Yeah.
And so I thought that might have been like he hit his own player's head.
It might have been Damsgaard or it was Norgard or Damsgaard, but one of the two of them. Is who went and it went.
Interesting.
And it was bad. It was bad.
Have to see that. What I would worry about for Brighton though too is I think some of the fans may be losing a little bit of faith with the youngest manager ever in the history of ever.
It really has been very roller coastery.
But there was a lot of chanting of "you don't know what you're doing," which is not good.
Yeah,
to yell at a child.
No,
he's younger than me.
I know he's younger than you.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Crystal Palace Football Club and Bournemouth.
Bro, you could say this about the next few games.
Played a professional football match in the English Premier League this weekend.
You could say this about the next 3 games.
When I checked in on it at halftime, they actually showed the 2 yellow cards, and then that was it. They didn't show a single shot.
Do you want to know this first sentence I wrote? I'd like to say the red card changed the game, but there was so fucking little in the game that it just made the paint dry a little faster.
Yeah, it was.
Because that's what it was. It was like watching fucking paint dry.
And that's where I want to kind of go to.
I mean, Palace have been squad rotating for 2 weeks in preparation for this semifinal.
Yeah, precisely.
So it's like they just don't have anybody on the field that can affect the game. I mean, the game's in the balance. Bournemouth are in a bad way. They yank Eza.
Yeah.
For no reason at halftime.
Yep.
Just to rest him.
Yep.
Which I get. I mean, this semifinal is probably the biggest game in our history, really. So go for it. I mean, by all means, that's your prerogative and you're right. You've done everything good up to this point. You're safe. You're probably not going to challenge for a European spot the way, teams like Villa, Newcastle have stormed up the league in recent weeks.
Right.
So, that 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th kind of position is probably going to be out of reach for you.
Right.
You don't have the depth. So I understand it. It just makes for these damp squibs that just nobody fucking cares about.
Yeah, precisely. The thing for me that I wonder, and this goes back to Brentford, it goes back to Brighton, it goes back to Bournemouth, and it goes to Fulham as well in the West London Derby. Nobody seems to want to win 8th place.
No.
No one seems to want 8th place. And
There's
8th
all in
place is
such bad form.
Is probably going to the McRib. 8th place is probably going to the McRib. And
Right.
none of them seem to want it.
Well, but here's the thing. So let's microcosm the teams that are in chasing, right? Real quick. So the teams that are real tight in those positions we talked about before, Forest, Villa, Newcastle, City, and Chelsea, you've got between them in the last 5 games, say, probably 16 wins.
Yeah.
But collectively, when you look at the teams that are chasing that also happen to have something else. So you're looking at Palace, you're looking at Brighton. Brighton only just lost in the last round of the FA Cup, I think, right?
Right.
So they could have been in a semifinal. So you're looking at Bournemouth, you're looking at Palace, you're looking at Brighton, of those next couple of teams. They're all got something else on their mind. They all don't really care.
Right.
Bournemouth has picked up a couple of strange injuries. Evan Nilsson has come back into the squad and not done a ton.
Yeah.
Looks a little bit hesitant, where he was banging him in early in the season. Ouattara came in when he got hurt and played very fucking well. And it just looks like when Evan Nilsson came back in, kind of unbalanced the team a bit, and they found it difficult to get motivated. I mean, they were in the Champions League spots for a large portion of the season.
And missing Kluivert hurts too.
Right, and then again, they picked up a couple of injuries, that 2 important players.
Yeah.
And that's And the worst part about it is, like, Bournemouth, I don't feel like have been embroiled in any real battles. I forgot to mention it when we talked about the game, but, like, look at the beating Elliot Anderson took.
Yeah.
No, we haven't talked about it yet.
We're going to get to that game.
We're coming on. Like, look at the beating he took today,
Yeah.
randomly from all of the Spurs players.
Right.
It's just like they were all getting their birthday licks in.
Right.
It seemed like
Precisely.
he was getting fucked up left, right, and center. I don't remember a Bournemouth player really having that happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Adams has been doing that a lot to other people. But they scoring goals just kind of fell off a cliff out of nowhere for Bournemouth. And that, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate because it would have been massive for that football club. It would have been excellent for those fans to have something like that. It'd be great for Palace's fans to have something like that. So I'm not super disappointed. I mean, I'm disappointed the game was terrible, but I'm disappointed for both teams that it ended up being a draw.
Yeah.
Is one of you go seize the moment, go do something special for your fan base.
That's the part of my bet I missed. Everything else hit.
Yeah.
They didn't score any goals. That was
So we're coming. You just gave me the wrap it up sign, and we can do that. But we're coming on to the reason I didn't hit a bet.
Yeah. Well,
for the first time this season,
West Ham United and Southampton Football Club played a professional soccer match in the English Premier League. I frankly, like, Irons, what are you doing, man? You got to put that one to bed. How are you letting an already relegated team get you at the death and get an equalizer?
And it's your fault they're not the worst team in Premier League history, which I think by far they are.
They're level. They're now level on points.
Level with Derby
County,
11. Yeah. But they deserve to be the worst team. They've been pitiful this season.
If you're
and it was a stoppage time goal.
Yeah.
And so my bet.
How do you not see this game out?
And so my bet included West Ham beating Southampton, cashing in their Southampton voucher.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And it's not even what happened in the game. Fuck it. It's not even about that. It was pretty bad defending, but Ogachukwu was a good volley. Mm-hmm. He caught it clean and went in the back of the net. Good for him. Well done. This was more to me about Fulkrug's comments at full time. Did you hear?
No, I did not hear this.
So he went on basically a pretty decent rant about, Graham Potter's trying to give us these ideas, but if we're not all implementing them, then the system doesn't work.
Right.
We all need to be listening and trying and doing.
Right.
And we're not. And he said, I'm not, he went like opposite Dad. He said, I'm not disappointed. I'm angry.
Wow.
He said, we were shit today. Mm-hmm. Flat out on television said, we were shit today.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And he went in 2-footed on his own team and basically not in defiance of the manager, almost in support of the manager. He said he has these ideas. He needs us to do these things, but all of us have to do them.
Right.
So he's, without naming names, there's some people in that first 11 that aren't doing their job, apparently.
That probably
That's
won't have a job there next year.
Making the system fall apart. And if it wasn't as bad, I mean, I'm going to pull the table up again real quick because just to give you an idea, right? You've got 20 losses for Ipswich. You have 23 for Leicester. You have 26 for Southampton because they're that shit. West Ham have 15 losses. Tottenham have 18 losses. Wolves have 17. Manchester United have 15. The almost relegated club, about to be relegated club, is sitting on 20 losses for the season. United are within 5. Mm-hmm. West Ham are within 5. Spurs are within 2. Wolves are within 3. That's how bad those teams have been this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's how piss poor they've been. If any of these 3 clubs mustered any sort of hope, we could be looking at a Spurs relegation. West Ham could be going back down.
Right. Yeah.
United could go down for the first time since the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Wolves could go down after an 8-year stint now or whatever it is, 9-year stint in the Premier League. Like, these teams have been piss fucking poor, and it's only because of how bad the 3 promoted clubs have been that any of these cunts are safe.
Yeah. It's literally it.
And it's a travesty. You won a fucking European trophy. Granted, it's the McRib Cup, but you've never lifted a European trophy before. You called for the manager's head, and I'll defend David Moyes to the hilt. I did it when he got let go the second time. It's not always greener on the other side, man. You called for his head because it was boring.
Right.
But boring gets results. Look at what Forest are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Boring gets results.
Boring has Everton in 13th place above all of those teams in the table.
It has your team safe. Mm-hmm. Is it fun to watch? Not all the time. You have your moments, though.
Yeah.
But winning is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not losing is better than losing. Drawing isn't always fun. Sometimes it's fun. It's not always fun.
Right.
So, but it's fucking better than losing.
You
So
hope
sucks.
that Potter is able to take this and really fucking lay into his squad this week during training, like that you all gave it away. Like, because
I hope so.
If they win that game, we already have all 3 teams relegated. Ipswich would have gone down if West Ham had held on and won. Mm-hmm. Ipswich would have been down. They like. That you have to play with a certain sense of urgency, and good on Fulkirk for calling
him
out
out.
his team.
Yeah.
That needed to happen.
100%.
Wolverhampton Wanderers.
He went full bore.
Wolverhampton Wanderers and Manchester United played a professional soccer match in the English Premier League. But in all honesty, oh my God! Like
Again, United fans, Michael. Specifically, talking to you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Us beating Ipswich made you mathematically safe.
Right.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Spurs fans, we're going to get to you in a second about how bad you all were, specifically, but also, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in this 33rd game of the season, both of your clubs are now finally mathematically safe from relegation.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because of Arsenal's 4-0.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Now the free kick. What a fucking peach.
It was all right. In the last 2 weeks, Declan Rice did that shit better than that.
Yeah, he did, but
twice in the same game.
It's also Declan Rice versus fucking Cerebral
versus Real Madrid. This was the 13th or 12th placed English team. Where's Wolves at? This is the 15th place team against the 14th place team.
Yep,
so really,
exactly.
This is 2 bold men fighting over a comb. The first sentence I wrote about this game was, honestly, I couldn't give a fuck less than I do right now.
No. Well, the one
Could
good
not
thing,
care less.
The one thing that is good there is Wolves have gone from being in dead last under Vitor Pereira, and they played themselves out of it. They earned their safety.
Do you want to hear the converse side to that?
Yeah.
There was a tweet that went out about Ruben Amorim and Manchester United in November when he was hired. I think it was November 10th. The announcement came out. Manchester United from the BBC. Manchester United sit 4 points off the top 4 and have hired Ruben Amorim to replace Erik ten Hag on a full-time basis and replace, obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy on an interim basis. And obviously, since then, they've only gone one direction. And it's not, well, I can't make that. Not going to say it.
Good enough.
You can fill in the lines.
Forest, right back to their old tricks. Forest went, you know what? Nuno went, I know exactly what Big Ange is going to do, so we're going to sit back, and we're just going to let the game come to us, and we're going to counterattack them. And what do they do? Within 20 minutes, it's 2-0, and the game's almost already decided.
Bro, again, I just basically summed up your shit in one sentence there with the first line I wrote here. So Tottenham pretty much controlled the game possession-wise, but that's exactly what plays into Forest's hands.
That's what they want.
They want you to do that.
Yeah, they
so
want
stop
you to
doing
do
that. I mean, Tottenham weren't without their chances, by the way. Richarlison could have scored 6 by himself in about a 12-minute span with headers.
Some of those were some great saves from himself.
Of course,
some were just wide, but I was about to say, and in my notes was, it seemed like Richarlison is the only fucking person trying out there.
But
and he ain't gonna be there in the summer.
And
he's gonna be gone. How is it the guy that's got one foot out the door is the only one seemingly fucking trying for your team? Like, that's ridiculous.
Here's the other issue, because the other people felt disrespected for being played. And I'll tell you why. Because as sad as it fucking is, the gap, we talk about a lot, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship, and how it looks like it's getting worse because for 2 seasons running now, all 3 that came up, all 3 are going down.
Right.
So that gap looks like it's expanding, right? United and Tottenham found themselves in the Europa League this year because of poor results last season, obviously.
Right.
They deserve to be there. The gulf in class and budget is the same reason Chelsea in the Conference League, same thing.
Right.
By no merit really at all over the embodiment of the season, either probably Tottenham or United will find themselves in the Champions League because they're going to win the Europa League.
Yeah.
And that's fucking pitiful.
Sure money.
How'd you do, buddy?
West Ham did not cash in their Southampton voucher. They left it about 30 seconds from time when that sweet volley was struck, and they drew 1-1. That is the only leg I missed from... I picked Wolves to win or draw against United at Old Trafford.
And it hit.
West Ham couldn't beat Southampton.
Yeah.
Arguably, on the eye test, the worst team in Premier League history.
Yeah. The
on the point total right now, the joint worst team in Premier League history.
Exactly.
And I fucked it. Well, they fucked it for me. I did the right thing, and they fucked it for me. So... I'm down $3,100. I haven't won a single goddamn bet this season again. So go ahead. What do you have? And then I'll get into my 8 it is 8 legs this time.
Very good. I actually almost hit. The only thing that didn't hit for me was Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. Obviously did not score any goals. I am still up $703.
Big Sam's Lock of the Week.
25.8064516% of the time works 100% of the time.
Nice. I wish.
Despite the fact that they are now safe, Leicester's just that bad. I'm going to take, this would normally be the hangover game. I'm going to take Wolves to beat Leicester and under 2.5 goals. I think it's a 1-0, 2-0 game.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
And that is for plus 252.
I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is actually just giving up completely because he keeps putting about face on the field.
Yeah,
so I think that could be more than that. But I take your point. All right, well done. Plus 252, you said?
Yep.
All right, good for you. Mine is going to get me plus 1,345 because I have to do something.
9-way parlay.
8, already told you that. Newcastle to beat Ipswich and there to be over 2.5 goals. because I think Newcastle are going to bounce back and go, okay, I'll see your fucking try to steal my Champions League spot, and I'll raise you a four-goal game.
Yep.
So I think that's going to happen. Ipswich obviously aren't very good.
No.
They're trying at least. They're still not very good.
Right.
Villa or draw against City, I told you that. They've built up a head of steam. I think they're coming. City still don't look particularly great. Again, it was the red card that changed that game, or else I think you ought to have got out of there with a draw. Arsenal beat Palace. Palace might as well just not even play Mateta or sub him off in the 12th minute because they're doing some weird shit to protect these people for Saturday or Sunday or whenever it is. So I think Arsenal are going to stroll over Palace midweek. I think that's going to be quite simple to do. Chelsea or draw with Everton. I think they'll gain a lot of confidence from that second half. I think Everton don't have much to play for. It's at Stamford Bridge, so there's going to be the added. Now, if you get a goal,
we don't play well at the Bridge.
But if you get a goal early, the way their fan base has been, they could get on their own team, and it could be a problem.
If we get a goal early, we draw them. If we don't get a goal early, we probably lose late.
Which was exactly the double chance idea.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Wolves to beat Leicester. I think that, we've seen from Pereira and Danny, first the points, then the pints.
Yep.
Which was a real quote he gave a real journalist.
Yep.
And I just think he likes drinking, and I think he wants to go out in Wolverhampton again. So I think he's just going to, fuck him. Even though we're safe, let's just keep winning because it's the only way my wife lets me out on a bender. So Wolves to beat Leicester. I've got Fulham to cash in their Southampton voucher. I think they're going to finish joint worst ever. I think they're going to lose the next 6 or 5.
I don't see where they're going to get a win.
So I think
Leicester is the only chance at a point.
And Fulham have a chance at 8th, which realistically could be
Europe.
Yep. So I think they're going to get their shit together and beat Southampton, which if they just do what they did in the first half, they'll beat them 2-0 easy. And then Bournemouth or draw with United because United are that bad, and they're at Bournemouth. Bournemouth actually, on the money line, were minus 110.
Yeah. Did you see what United are?
Plus 235 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
245 maybe.
Yeah. They're getting that's just that's pathetic.
It is pathetic, and I think Bournemouth have a better chance. I mean, who's the Drugo, the right back for United?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Because Mazraoui played further up the pitch this week. Drugo, whatever his name is, put in some decent fucking crosses last week, over the weekend. I don't know what Højlund's doing, but Højlund looks like one of the worst forwards I've ever seen. He has no instincts whatsoever.
Yeah.
Would make a run before maybe it's Dragu. Even put a ball in the
Dragu.
Even put a shape to make a cross. Højlund was already making his run. Just be patient. He was the best ball that was crossed. Højlund was already 2 yards past it by the time it got to the box.
Yeah.
Just what are you guys doing? I think Bournemouth really have a good chance here to also put some pressure on Fulham and some of the others that are chasing for 8th place. So that is Bournemouth or a draw with Manchester United closes out my 8-leg parlay. Once again, that's plus 1,345.
Not good gambling.
Macaroonies if it hits.
Terrible with money.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Any parting words, Mr. Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you got?
I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
So I got to say something.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Super Frank. Old Pope Francis passed. It is still, to me, the single-handed greatest graffiti I've ever seen in my life. Walking around drunk in Rome in 2017, I found a graffiti of him in his normal white papal everyday garb, but he was ripping open his shirt to reveal the Superman diamond, but an F in it for Francis.
I love it.
And from that moment, Carly and I have referred to him as Super Frank. He is the only pope that has gotten me considering going back to church ever. Benedict was far too conservative, didn't acknowledge the problems of the church, and Now, Francis could have done more. He didn't require people to report to the authorities about abuse, but it was mandatory to report at least through the church.
Right.
And he did have multiple priests prosecuted for their crimes.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the church in that my issue comes in as an organization. You have a responsibility to protect your biggest patrons, right? They didn't protect the people. They decided to cover it up. That's why I stopped going to church. That was the reason I stopped going to church. I also stopped going to church for the very, very conservative nature of Benedict and latter stage John Paul II. And Francis changed that a bit. He reached out to gays. He reached out to Muslims. He reached out to Hindus. He reached out to a lot of marginalized groups, immigrants especially. His parents were Italian immigrants to Argentina. He did a lot for the poor. He did a lot for marginalized groups. He could have done more for abuse victims. I am one that does truly believe it's not the scouts that are the problem. It's predators will always do what they can to find access. Predators will find access. They will fake it long enough to get through the lines.
Right.
It's how the organization deals with that once they find fucking out.
Right.
And the way the Catholic Church, until Francis, dealt with it completely under the books, off the record, and just moved people around, didn't say a goddamn word. At least Francis made it mandatory to report to the superiors of the church. That then proceeded to have a couple of prosecutions. Would it have been better to go further? Yes. Did he get the ball rolling at least? Fine. I still haven't gone to church, but he at least got me to think about it.
Well, the good news is I heard Big Sam's going to see it out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I saw that. Immensely disrespectful to Super Frank. Leave Super Frank alone. Let him have his moment in the sun as he goes towards the light. It's just a bit of a sad day.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. Hopefully the church does the right thing and picks someone as, if not more progressive than Francis was, because it does say in the good book that God loves all of his children. So all the judgy Christian shit can fuck off.
Heard.
And Frank tried to fuck it off a bit.
Yeah.
And for that, after especially Benedict, it was very welcome.
Excellent.
So R.I.P. Super Frank.
Next up is DU Does EFL. We have a couple of newly promoted clubs already going up to the Premier League, which we'll talk about.
Well, we've got two relegated, so we might as well replace it with two more real quick.
Already got that all figured out.
Gotta let them know.
And we're going to cover all that, and then we're going to very briefly at the end of that show talk about the FA Cup semifinal as well. After that, we do Injury Time, which is a preview of the next week's action. And we talk about our fantasy team.
I was trying to pop my right ear, and it won't pop.
Didn't go well
so then
for you.
It came up my throat for some reason.
Didn't go well at all.
It was strange.
And should somebody want to support us, Mr. Graham, how do they go about doing it?
Very easy. It's patreon.com/DFootball Show. As I told you earlier in the show when I pimped Injury Time.
Very good. Till next week, everybody.
Guten Nacht.